Everyone would stand for the stage. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jacob, will you call the roll, please?
Yep. Butler?
Here.
Jordan? Here. Oakbridge? Here. Smith? Here. Thomas?
Here.
Thrash?
Here.
Vincenzo?
Here.
All members are present.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the minutes from the March 21st meeting. Is there anyone who did not receive their copy of the minutes? Anyone have any questions? Okay, hearing none. At this time, I will accept a motion to accept the minutes from the 21st. Need a second?
Second.
Thomas? We have a motion and a second. Call roll.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Oakbridge?
Abstain.
Smith?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Thrash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 abstention.
Okay, the minutes from the 21st accepted. Okay, nothing under new business or citizens hearings, and I'm not aware of any correspondence, so we'll move straight to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Jim. As we finally head towards spring, although we'd be hard pressed to realize it when you're out in weather, it has been a busy and productive 2 weeks. I met with Chief Arbenz and Greg Clark regarding Easter activities in the city, April 10th. Palm Sunday, we will once again be taking Easter Bunny through downtown and St. Clairsville to the various nursing homes and to Fox Run. We met this afternoon at 5 o'clock in my office and had a lot of volunteers come in, and we filled baskets and boxes for the kids and for some of the senior citizens. If you have anybody that you think maybe Easter Bunny, like an older person, doesn't have anybody, should go visit, give us the names, get it to Chief, and we'll try to make sure he makes that visit. We participated in the District Advisory Council meeting I did at DeRusco Garage Center. This was very informative, which addressed a lot of the emergencies that went on during the ice storm, as well as some funding opportunities that are coming our way in the cities and townships. We met with our HR firm after a meeting with the union rep, which was regarding certain contract clauses with the Ask Me. We also met with the rec department. It looks like it's going to be a very full summer of entertainment. I met with Tammy Shepard at the JB Green team about some waste concerns in the area of the recycle bins. We're looking for solutions to resolve these. There's been a lot of garbage down around the recycle bins, and we're looking at maybe getting some, and I wanted to talk to Beth about this, maybe having people who are doing community activity and community time, projects might be able to help us clean that up. And I know she told me she thinks they've got a restaurant dumping food. There's a lot of food behind one of the bins, she said, but we can't catch them. So we're talking to Chief about maybe even putting a camera down there. Met with a couple constituents regarding some property issues. We teleconferenced with Gabe Hayes regarding updates on a couple projects. We did Mayor's Court, dealt with several traffic citations. Met with Jeremy and Elizabeth Glick to discuss any city issues, as well as our legislation for tonight. And again, I went down to the rec center on Sunday to see what activities. They had volleyball going on. It was very busy and well-attended. And they invited me to play, and I thought better of it because they were playing some real volleyball. I appreciate the rec center's flexibility. On Friday, there was a gubernatorial candidate. Joe Blystone came to town. They were going to have a rally on the courthouse steps. And then the weather was crummy on Friday, and at the last minute, they wanted to see if they could move to the rec center, which they did. And even though the guys were down there painting in the rec center, Debbie and Eric made it happen. It worked just great. The candidate I know was pleased, as were the people who were able to attend. So that was a great job, guys. I got to speak at the Welcome Home Vietnam Vets Rally at the courthouse, and it was a very moving remembrance to those veterans who did what their country asked them to do and came home with very little fanfare. They did their country's service, and they fought to preserve freedom. And again, with seeing what's going on in Ukraine, we can see it's certainly something worth fighting for. And lastly, congratulations to St. Clairsville Flag Corps and Drumline on their first competition in the Ohio Indoor Performance Association. They both placed 5th in the state, and that certainly isn't bad for their first try at something new to the school. Congratulations to them. That's about it, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for the mayor? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to Service Director Jeremy Greenwood.
Good evening, Council. Council items before us tonight. We've got legislation 2022-17, the House Revolving Loan Fund. I do believe Mr. Murphy had sent out an email and directing more of a description of what this entails. The original email we found out was actually sent to former finance director's email, which is not active anymore. That's the reason why it hasn't been decided upon before now. Last couple of weeks I've had 12 different meetings from different things, completed projects. The servers have been ordered. One of the 2 new servers has been shipped. We've got 2 new laptops coming in, and they're scheduled for this week to be set up for a couple different people. The water tank inspections have been set up. We're just waiting for confirmation dates on when they're going to actually do the inspections. They're going to do the ROVs instead of out of service inspections, so that'll save us a lot of money. Grant paperwork for the EMA disaster grant was submitted. That one, what we were going after with that was backup generators for all our sewer lift stations and the rec center. We also submitted loan paperwork application to OWDA for the I-70 water line project. Finally got that one in. So we'll have 2 options with potential loans for that project. Upcoming projects, as I mentioned, we're still working on the permanent fix for the leak under the interstate. This summer we're going to be looking at our inflow and infiltration control plans. We've also set up, going to be setting up dates to smoke our sanitary sewer system to look for illegal connections. Building projects, still working on the restroom rec center. Going to have some stuff in there to describe or to go over for the floor, and the lights are going to be redone in there. The train station renovation, as the mayor mentioned, met with the HR firm and started discussing the administrative policies and procedures. Still working on the layout for the police locker room. Departments, electric department, still kind of doing some equipment maintenance, restocking. We had the advertisement for the open position. After the last meeting, I told you guys that we had the 3 candidates and had interviews for them. We brought all 3 in for a second round. The 3 candidates actually all scored the same average with the 3 interviews. So we brought them in for a second round, and we'll be making a decision soon. Water, wastewater, as was mentioned in the utility committee, we're going to have hydrant flushing in the week of April 18th. Still fixing hydrants and curb boxes and valves. We've still got the I-70 project. Looking at quotes to do some rakes to help screen out some of the stuff at the West End package plant. We've still stuck at 8 water line breaks for the year, which is a great number compared to what we had last year. We're wrapping up the East End water connection. I think the last couple things that they need to do is the SCADA system and some of the updates with that. Still having some issues with a couple of the lift stations, and then, as I mentioned, we got quotes for the generators for that thing, for that grant. Streets, street department, our superintendent was back today. Today was his first day back. He was on family leave. We're still patching potholes and doing storm cleanup. This week is going to rain, so we're not going to be able to patch as much as we're looking to do. Rec center, the week of April, or actually starting April 11th, the gymnasium itself will be out of service until May 1st. We're going to actually have the gymnasium floor redone. This week, Eric is going to work on putting new lights in the gymnasium. Donnie found us some nice LED lights. We'll be able to replace the bulbs of the other fixtures. Eric's also been painting down there, so that's pretty good. This is the last week for indoor soccer and volleyball. Both programs were successful, and he wants to thank the St. Clairsville High School soccer and volleyball teams for their help. The new lights, the floor. They've got a Zumba class starting Wednesday nights, April 13th. Cost is $10 per class, and you can have pre-registration or walk in. Police department, we're still kind of waiting on the company to come down and pick up the cruisers. They've already paid us, so we've cashed the check already. The cars are just still sitting there. Radar signs are still out. I don't know, Chief, was there, one was on Route 9 North, and where was the other one at? Crescent. Still getting really, really good data on all of that stuff. Good of the city, we've got 2 out sick. Actually, I'm sorry, there's 3 that are out sick. Those are non-COVID related illnesses. We have our Arbor Day celebration set up for May 6th at 1 p.m. We're still setting up details for that. And it's also the first of the month, so this month's Employee of the Month. Currently, they have been with the city for about a year, but previously they were actually with the city for 6 years. They've been married for 30 years. They have lots of nieces and nephews. They've been in law enforcement since 1993. They're our TAC officer. They also work on our Leads and Red Hawk system, LEAP, which is an FBI gateway, CGIS, LASSO, a whole bunch of other acronyms that I don't know what they mean, but it is used by the police a lot so they can go through it. Doing public records, public retention, grant writing, and also fingerprinting services. They're also a registered notary. Basically, what we've dubbed is the big sister to the police department. She's cleaning up case files and files, the key cabinet, lots of other things to helping out. She also helps out with the software for reports and actually helping do reports with that. In her spare time, she loves the outdoors, riding in side-by-sides and camping, spending time with family and friends. She's also a puppy sitter and loves all kinds of animals, loves music. It's this month's Employee of the Month is Tanya Hutchinson. And that is all, Jim.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Anyone have questions or comments?
Just one question. Any work schedule or anything for the amphitheater?
We have the budget in the budget this year to actually recoat that because it hasn't been sealed in several years, but we're just kind of waiting until a couple of these other projects materialize, so we're not putting too much ahead of ourselves.
Okay,
but
sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Beth?
Paving?
Paving, plants don't open until mid this month, supposedly, but depending on the weather. We'll also have, as soon as I can get the distribution drawings and sit down and look at stuff, we'll see what kind of package we'll have for this year. But with the paving prices, that's one of the things I mentioned last meeting. I'm going to still recommend that we look at bankrolling that money and just doing paving for next year. Maybe we do a couple tar and chips and some sealing, but the actual paving itself it's going to be ungodly, the cost this year.
But we're going to do what we...
Yes, as soon as the paving plants open up. But there also have been cost increases with that too. So we're still in I don't want to say negotiations, but discussions with the asphalt paver.
That's it, Martin?
Could we consider, I understand your point, I don't disagree with you, but can we consider potentially going forward with streets and going to bid and see what comes back? Not, we don't have to commit, obviously.
But the determination as to what streets, though, that's the problem.
Well, okay, you're saying because of the repairs.
Yes. Some of the
and the cost, maybe.
Yes. I mean, I would have no problem going out to bids and see where the numbers come in at.
Okay.
But they're just going to be outrageous. I know.
I see.
But with the distribution, that's the problem, is we don't know which streets.
Okay.
Because we have a list of streets that we know need paved, but there's going to be some that are just completely decimated.
Sure. No, I totally
Yeah.
agree, yeah. Do you have an understanding at this point yet, is there alleys involved too?
Yes.
Okay, because I was going to suggest we look at doing some alleys.
Main Street, there's only crossings of the water lines across Main Street. All of the utilities run in the alleys.
Okay.
So, which kind of stinks because some of the best streets we have are the alleys, and we're going to tear them up.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
Welcome.
We'll move on to Police Chief, Mr. Matt Arbenz.
Good evening, everyone. Monthly reports for March. Spring is in the air, so we're getting busier. We had 471 calls for service, 18 crashes, 34 arrests, 5 warrants served, 3 domestics, and 174 traffic stops. Other news, I've applied from our city's new insurance company, PEP, Public Employees Pool, a grant should pay back $1,000, and it's going to go towards our Lexapol policy and procedure and daily training bulletins. Called them today. They pretty much assured me if I sent the paperwork in, we'd get that grant within 30 days. So. And finally, I can't comment publicly on this as yet because an arrest just took place about 30 minutes ago, but keep your eye on the news in the next day or so for the really important work that our officers have done protecting our children from predatory adults. I'd say more, but it would hit the news prematurely. So just keep an eye out on the news, and when you see the guys, give them a attaboy. That's all.
Thanks, Chief. Anybody have any questions for the chief? Okay, thank you. You guys are doing a good job. Okay, next is Finance Director Annette Williams. She's out of town this evening, so she'll have no report, obviously. I'll move on to Planning and Zoning. Mr. Murphy.
Thanks, Jim. Just to inform council, you have in front of you Ordinance 2022-17. I did send an email out prior to the meeting last Wednesday, I think, in regard to what that ordinance is about. To shorten it up, but again, ask me any questions. In order to spend CDBG funds, council must approve the ordinance and the agreement. Jeremy alluded to, it was sent to our previous finance director. The agreement ended at the end of last year, so we had no idea that they had sent it to the city. We were in conversations with Bellamar. They sent us the agreement, and so we have that ordinance in front of you now. It is set up as an emergency. The reason this is a good agreement and why it needs to get signed is there has been conversations recently about the CHIP funds or the CDBG fund program that we have now and how can we get that money spent. So this is the Community Housing Improvement Program Fund. This is the first step in allowing us to set up an agreement with Bellamar and then hopefully get at least 2 homes renovated within the city. Probably won't happen this year just due to timing, but that's the purpose of this ordinance. So if you do have questions, feel free to ask me.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Murphy? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to council committees. Finance, Mr. Smith, do you have a report this evening?
No report. We'll have a meeting 2 Mondays from now. I guess I'll take this time though to ask on this ordinance. It says the city on the third whereas down has been awarded CDBG and home funds. Have we received funds already?
We haven't received recent funds. This is that program you had alluded to, I think, in the past month or so. We haven't received new funds. When housing or structures were renovated, they have to pay part of that loan back, which went into the CHIP program fund, I'll say. They obviously want us to spend that money, so it's nothing recently we've received. But in order to spend those funds, we have to have this agreement in place with the state.
Because it's one, because it says, whereas the city of St. Clairsville has been awarded funds.
We were awarded them at one point in time.
That's where all that money came from before. It's just been sitting in the account for, what, 5, 10 years?
Well, I'm not sure exactly the timeline, but it has been there
A
a
while.
while. And naturally, they want us to spend it. They don't want it to just sit there.
Okay, and last, in the heading, it mentions revolving loan fund. I don't know if anybody on council here, aren't we supposed to have a revolving loan fund committee or something like that? I mean, do we have that?
I think that might be, I think there is something related to that, but not this particular fund.
They're two separate things.
Yeah.
Okay.
CHIP and revolving loan are two separate things, both of which we had discussed about those existing funds when we were going over the budget, those monies sitting there. So don't commingle those, as they are different.
Yeah, in regard to those other funds, we're working on finding out what we have to do to get those spent, so. But it would be separate from this.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other questions for Mr. Murphy? Okay, thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Do you have any other thing to report? You said no report on finance?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to utilities. Tara Butler.
We had our meeting tonight. We got the billing report. We passed the delinquent final and termination of utility services. We approved a sewer credit request. We have an electric service budget agreement that we will bring to full council in May when we get the language on, when we get the final on that. As Jeremy said, hydrant flushing the week of April 18th, and our next meeting, May 2nd, will be at 6:30, the new time for the utility meeting.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Butler? Okay, thank you, Tara. Move on to the police. Beth, do you have a report?
Our next police committee will be on April 18th after the regularly scheduled council meeting.
Okay. Move to Streets North Side, Mr. Vincenzo.
No report.
Streets South Side, Mr. Thresh.
No report.
And Safety, Mr. Thresh.
No report. Next meeting, April 28th.
What is it, April 28th?
Where is that again, JC?
At the city garage.
The
Okay,
electric.
thank you.
I think that schedule was emailed out to council with all, for the meetings.
Sorry.
Do you have a time on that? Is it 9 still?
It's always 9.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Building and Grounds, Ms. Jordan.
No report.
Planning Commission, Mr. Thomas.
No report.
Fire District.
No report. This month's meeting is the 20th of this month, 9 a.m. at the firehouse.
Okay. Recreation, Mr. Thomas.
Unless anybody has any questions, Jeremy did an admirable job summing up what's transpired over the last few weeks. The meeting again this month will be the third Thursday, back to the third Thursday. We had changed it last week.
Okay, and our last council committees, Park District, Mr. Wood, does have anything to report?
No report. The scheduled meeting will be next Monday, 4:30 at Preferred Legacy Bank.
Okay, that brings us to ordinances and resolutions. Our law director, Mr. Flick.
Tonight, you only have one piece of legislation before you, and that's ordinance number 2022-17, That's the ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of St. Clairsville to authorize the execution of a housing revolving loan fund administration agreement with the state of Ohio Department of Development and declaring an emergency. And Tom has gone over that, the background of that piece of legislation. So.
Okay, we'll have the first reading of ordinance 2022-17.
Ordinance number 2022-17, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of St. Clairsville to authorize the execution of a housing revolving loan fund administration agreement with the state of Ohio Department of Development and declaring an emergency.
Okay, they have requested emergency language in that. Does anyone wish to take any further action?
I move that the rules and regulations that they be read on 3 separate readings, be suspended, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Butler? Okay, at this time, we'll take a vote on considering this emergency legislation.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Thrash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members in favor.
Okay, ordinance 2022-17 will be considered emergency. So we'll read it for the
Ordinance number 2022-17, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of St. Clairsville to authorize the execution of a housing revolving loan fund administration agreement with the state of Ohio Department of Development and declaring an emergency.
Okay, do we have a motion to pass this legislation?
Second.
Mr. Thomas. Okay, we'll now take a vote to pass this.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Thrash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are in favor.
Okay, ordinance 2022-17 is accepted and passed. Okay, that's all we have on the agenda. The next meeting will be Monday, April 18th. This is the first meeting for the new time change at 7 p.m. Consequently, the council meeting, committee meetings prior to that will be bumped up. So the next meeting on the 18th will be at 7 p.m. and the finance committee meeting will be at 6:15. Okay, nothing else. Have a motion to adjourn. Thomas. Second. Adjourn.